There is a strange fear most of us have, the fear of being real. Not the version of you that smiles politely, not the version that agrees with everyone, not the version that knows how to fit into every room. I am talking about the real one, the one with honest opinions, the one that does not always match the expectations around you. And the reason we hide that version of ourselves is simple. We are afraid we will lose something: friends, opportunities, approval, or belonging. But here is something that I have realized: anything you lose by being real was never truly yours. Most people do not notice how much they perform. You soften your opinions so people do not feel uncomfortable. You laugh at things that are not funny. You stay silent when you want to speak. You hide the parts of yourself that feel too intense, too different, or too honest. Not because you are fake, but because you are trying to survive socially. Humans are wired to seek acceptance. We want to belong somewhere, so we slowly shape ourselves into someone easier to accept. And over time, that performance becomes normal. You do not even realize you are doing it anymore. But pretending has a cost. You might gain approval, but you lose clarity because the people around you are not connecting with the real you. They are connecting with the edited version of yourself. So even when you are surrounded by people, something inside still feels lonely because deep down you know if you stopped performing tomorrow, some of these connections might disappear, and that thought is terrifying. But there comes a moment in life where you start asking yourself a different question. Not how do I make people like me, but what happens if I just tell the truth about who I am? And the first time you try it, something very uncomfortable happens. Some people do not like it. Some people distance themselves. Some people misunderstand you completely. And for a moment, it feels like you made a mistake, like you lost something valuable. But that's the moment you start discovering something deeper. When you start being real, you do lose things. You lose certain friendships, certain opportunities, certain versions of acceptance. But look closely at what's actually happening. You are not losing something real. You are losing agreements that only existed because you were pretending. Those connections were built on a version of you that was not completely honest. And anything that depends on you hiding yourself was never stable to begin with. Being real acts like a filter. It pushes away people who only liked the mask, and it makes room for people who can actually see you. At first, that space feels empty, quieter, maybe even lonelier. But something important starts to grow in that space: respect. Not just from others, but from yourself. Because when you stop editing yourself just to keep people around, you begin living with a kind of honesty that most people never reach. The reason most people never reach that point is fear. They think losing people means losing value. They think if someone walks away after seeing the real version of them, it must mean something is wrong. But sometimes rejection is not a judgment. Sometimes it's simply incompatibility. Not everyone is meant to walk the same road with you, and forcing those connections only creates quiet resentment. So, if being real costs you something, do not panic. Look at what left. If someone disappears the moment you stop pretending, they were not connected to you, they were connected to the performance. And a performance can only last so long. But honesty builds something stronger because anything that stays with you after you become real is finally real too.